So when we started, we just wanted to do some simple concert stagings. It was really just about the music, but we're going to be one of the first Canadian productions of this piece ever. And again, like for me, the draw is the music. Like everyone's really excited, and the show's in a great place. So
nice.
We're really excited to move in and just see it all come together in a matter of hours. Yeah, there was a show once where me and the team, we had to completely rewrite a whole scene because it was just, it wasn't even close to passable. Just completely different and giving people a voice that usually don't get one. It works in a certain setting, but I think for the ambitions we have, no, we need more color, sonic color than that. I'm always learning this, not just with Dr. Bird, but I think in my craft is just how to work with performers. And no, there's no one size fits all. Everyone's different. So working with musicians is not the same as working with performers. And that's something I'm always going to be working on. Because as a director, as a creative, that's sort of what you need to do. Them knowing that you're not out to hurt them, that you're on their side, and that you want nothing but for the best performance out of them. I think the fear is like, let's have a run through, let's let it be bad, and that will be the fear. It's not enough to just have the actual talent of the thing. You have to have.
Before we get into the interview, I would love it so much if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It means so much to us, and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So let's dive into Dr. Bird Productions. You are the co-founder of the production company. So how did it start?
So my friend Manuele and I, back during the pandemic, he actually wanted to do a personal cabaret concert. And we had this loose idea in the back of our heads to also do some concert stagings of musicals, because that's sort of what was easier to do at the time with limited budget, limited everything.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, and the personal concert got scrapped for now. And we're like, you know what, let's just put on a musical. And I really wanted to do Sweeney Todd. I wanted to do that for a while. So we're like, all right, fuck it, let's do that.
Nice.
And that's literally how it all began. And he gets the name Dr. Bird because people have asked us a lot from his heritage. He's half Italian, half Jamaican.
Oh, okay.
And Dr. Bird is the national bird of Jamaica.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's wicked. For the production company, what is your main role within it?
So I am the music director. So yeah, anything music related, I'm in charge of. At first, that entailed accompanying all the shows, because when we started, we didn't have any sort of orchestra or band. It was just me accompanying all our performances just on the piano.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was amazing. I loved it. But then I got to a point, or we both did, I think, where we realized, I think if we want to build this company and have it grow, we need to up the production value, and one of the big ways is getting musicians in the room.
Right.
So our first production this year is our first time with a full orchestra, and I love it.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That's so exciting. Do you hold auditions, or do you know people for the orchestra already?
Basically just through people I've worked with in the past, all networking. A couple recommendations, because I had some instruments that I needed to fill that I didn't know anyone offhand for.
Nice.
And I think one or two Facebook, just general posts, to be like, if anyone wants to fill this position, these are the details, send me a message. So
nice.
I think, yeah, honestly, for musicians, that's the biggest way to connect these days is social media.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I feel like TikTok is really good for musicians, I find, anyway, and Instagram, just the reels and short little videos are fun for musicians.
I would say even just having the social media, you don't necessarily have to use it, but I tell people all the time, I've gotten so many more opportunities through Instagram, actually, mostly.
Oh, really?
I'm not on TikTok a lot personally, but way more than email.
Yeah,
Instagram and Facebook have been how a lot of opportunities have come my way.
Nice.
So yeah, I would just say that for any musicians out there looking to connect, social media is totally the way to go.
Yeah, good to know, good to know. And for your last production with the Sweeney Todd, where's your venue for your shows?
So we perform generally up in North York at the Meridian Arts Center.
Nice.
And I don't think everyone knows this, but there's actually 4 different venues within that building.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they used to have this really big 2,000-seat theater that they literally cut in half, and it's now 2 different spaces. So our Sweeney Todd, we did that in the Studio Theater, which is their smallest venue, about 180 seats. And then Jeckyll Hyde, which is our first show this season, we've gone up to the next space, the Greenman Theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And tell me about where you're at in the process for Jeckyll Hyde right now.
So we open it tomorrow.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
We have tech morning and afternoon, and then we open it.
That's
it's
amazing.
It all happens like that, yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. How long was the rehearsal process for that show?
So we started rehearsals middle of August.
Middle of August.
Yeah, and we had the auditions in
September, October. Okay,
yeah,
that's a good chunk of time.
Yeah. So what's that, like 2 months? Yeah. And then we had the auditions in June.
Okay.
So yeah, we cast it in the middle of June. Everyone kind of had that month in between to know their role, kind of get familiar with the material, and then we started rehearsals.
Nice. That's awesome. That is so cool. And do you have separate rehearsals, like music rehearsals versus acting rehearsals versus dance, or do you all do everything try to do everything at the same time, or how do you guys structure
That's
that
a really
process?
great question. We try as much as possible to actually run multiple rooms at once in a night. So like if you show up, I might be in one room teaching music. Amelia, our choreographer, who's fantastic by the way, she's in another room working with the dancers or with other ensemble members that need to do staging. And then Manuele, who's been directing, he will also take people to another room and work on blocking and acting things with them. But then the last like 2-3 weeks, we're basically all just in one room running and cleaning it as a team.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And for Dr. Bird Productions, what was the main goal that you guys have for like your trajectory?
So when we started, we just wanted to do some simple concert stagings that were fairly simple to put up, but also one thing we were conscious of was time commitment. Because we were an independent, non-fully professional production, we really wanted to respect people's time. So we felt that a concert staging, which doesn't require as many production elements and doesn't require as much rehearsal time or tech time in the theater, we could just do it once a week, maybe twice a week leading up to the shows themselves.
Right.
But as being artists, we can't help but be more elaborate than that. So as each production has happened, we've grown it just a little bit more and more. So Sweeney Todd, our first show last year, it was just me on piano. We didn't have Amelia, our choreographer, on at the time. It was just me and Manuele running things. Everyone was reading off of books for the performance, like you would see in a concert. There was very little staging, very minimal props. It was really just about the music. And then our second show last year in March, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, we added Amelia on as the choreographer because we thought, you know what, why don't we get some staging, make sure all the heads are moving in the right direction at the right time, you know. I was still on piano, but we had like a backdrop of a set just with some bells and, you know, things like that to just indicate the cathedral. And I'm trying to, we also added a stage manager.
Nice. Very
important. Our wonderful Talfrin, who has been extremely instrumental in the success and growth of our company. So that was the next step. And we also added Paulina in as our social media coordinator, who she's also been fantastic in terms of really helping get Dr. Bird out there on the map. And then now that lands us at Jeckyll Hyde, where we are right now. And this was the year where I said, I want an orchestra.
Amazing.
Like, I love accompanying the shows, but I'm kind of over that in a way. I really think we need that color.
Yeah.
And it's 100% been the right choice. like just a couple days ago, the cast heard the orchestra for the first time, and you could feel the excitement in the room, you know?
Yes, it's a different energy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And it feels nice also to be able to hire local musicians and just give them a little bit of work as well, and help give them experience as well. So it expands their networks, it expands my network.
Yeah,
you know,
for
it's
sure.
a lot of fun. And also this time, Amelia, the choreographer, she played a much bigger role in terms of having more intricate staging. We have people way less off reading off of books now, like everyone's almost completely memorized. We just have the chorus in the back on book for some of like the background numbers where it's not as necessary that they're up front. So
Right.
I guess, so to answer your question, in the long term, every time I think we're building more and more towards what is inevitably going to be something
Just
fully
like
staged.
growing and growing and growing and growing. That's awesome. And being a local Toronto musician or actor, is that a requirement for your company when they're looking for hiring people or getting auditions and whatnot?
No, actually, we have, right now in our cast, we have someone who lives in Ottawa.
No way.
Yeah, and they were traveling in like on the bus every week.
What?
Yeah, I mean, this week they're staying here with someone because we have a lot more rehearsals. But I think
that is commitment.
Yeah, and actually Manuele himself, he lives out in Oshawa, so. You know,
okay, nice.
Yeah. I mean, generally most people are from the area because I don't know too many people that are willing to come from Ottawa, but.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, but not a requirement. Yeah, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to show up and be prepared.
Amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. And so this year is going to be your first full season, you said, right?
Yes. Last year we had 2 fully staged concerts, but this year we've also got our 2 main productions, and then we have 2 additional projects going on. So we've got Jeckyll Hyde, which is happening this weekend.
Yes.
Then in a couple weeks from now, we're hosting a masterclass with the American songwriter Scott Allen, which is a really exciting initiative. That was completely Manuel's idea. So we put out an audition call. We picked 10 singers, and they're gonna have like a full day masterclass with him.
That's amazing.
And then the next day, they perform in a concert with him.
What? Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it is. And it helps artists build their craft with someone who really knows what they're doing and can offer some really sound advice and just walk away from an experience that won't do anything but help them grow.
Yeah. How did you go about trying to pick the 10 singers?
Partly thank you, Paulina, our social media manager. She helped put out audition calls. Again, social media, right? Like that's where a lot of the stuff happens now. So Facebook groups, Instagram, TikTok posts. That's the main way. I mean, we send out. I know we send out email list notices too, but I find for the, I don't want to say target audience, but targets audience of actors and performers, that's more how we connect and you find out about those opportunities.
Nice. And how did you narrow it down to the 10 people?
It was pretty tricky because we got a lot of really strong submissions, and it was mostly Manuel's, like this is his project and I'm more assisting him on this one. I'm not playing as much of a role, but I did give my input on the singers. We didn't just consider like who's the most talented, but like who do we see?
Who would benefit the most from it too?
Exactly, yeah. Who do we see could actually grow, you know? Because if someone's coming in super, super strong, they might not necessarily need...
Yeah, it might not be the best use of their time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as it would be somebody else's.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then in March, our second main stage musical and concert is something I've been really excited about for a while. It's Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown.
Oh, yes.
Yes, which is this really different, really quirky musical that's got a Latin score, which I can't tell you how excited I am to like get the band together, get the cast singing the music. It's just something really different from the traditional music theater rep or even the modern stuff. And it had a bit of a troubled past on Broadway, and it's had a bit of trouble finding its feet as a musical, but we're going to be one of the first Canadian productions of this piece ever. And again, like for me, the draw is the music. Like it's really, it's just very different, really exciting, really interesting music. And also a direction we want to take the company in is also, you know, focusing our stories on more, like around characters that usually don't get the limelight in a story, you know. And Jeckyll Hyde is a great show, but it's about a man. And then the women in his life are all about what he does, right? So this show, Women on the Verge, is all about the women. And the men play a much less instrumental role. They're the side pieces. And
Nice.
it's just this beautiful story about how women band together and find strength together. Yeah, even the very last song of the show, it's just this wonderful unison of hearts and souls, and just the way all the chaos settles and they find each other in the end. I'm really looking forward to it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. And for, I didn't even know this till like a few years ago, but how do you go about getting the copyrights for performances? How does that work for your company?
So it's the same for like pretty much any company out there. There's a number of licensing companies that hold the rights to these musicals. One of them, MTI, Music Theatre International. They're one of the big rights holders. They hold the rights to like, a lot of the big musicals.
Okay.
So I think all of the Sondheim musicals, they have all his rights. Yeah, I think every show we've done, we've gotten through MTI, but there are other companies, Concord Theatricals, they're another big one, and they recently acquired Tams Whitmark and I think Samuel French.
Oh, okay.
So they were their own company, but then they acquired some other rights companies, they all merged.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of the two big players. Yeah, you just look up the rights for your musical and someone has the rights, right?
Yeah. And does it vary the price for, like it varies on the musical, whether it's super popular or
Yeah,
not?
and not just that, so it varies on the musical. It's also based on if you're a professional or amateur company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like-
professionals have to pay more, I'm hoping?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, so like if you go to like Stratford or Shaw Festival, they're paying professional performance licenses, but they also get a little bit more creative freedom, generally speaking. They're allowed
Okay.
to like reorchestrate or, I'm not sure about necessarily rewriting the scripts, but they're allowed to do a few more things that amateur companies are not.
Okay.
And then also the prices are also based on your venue size, what your ticket price is.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, and then you also pay per performance, right? So
Right.
when we did Sweeney Todd, we originally had one performance slotted in, and then we thought, let's see how much it costs to do another performance, and it made sense, so we ended up doing 2 performances.
Oh, okay, nice. And how many performances are you having of Jeckyll and Hyde?
3. So this
3.
is, another
This is a
part of our growth.
one-weekend banger kind of thing.
Yeah, well, another part of our growth is we're like, okay, let's add a Saturday matinee, because
Nice.
historically we've just done Friday, Saturday night. Now we're doing Friday, Saturday night plus the matinee. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Oh,
busy,
that's fun.
very busy weekend.
Yes.
But everyone's really excited, and the show's in a great place. So
Nice.
we're really excited to move in and just see it all come together in a matter of hours.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And we were talking earlier before we were filming about scripts and how dated scripts and the language used and changing things for more appropriate times or modern times where
Yeah, I
we've
know.
changed the language and whatnot. What struggles have you had, or if any, with Jeckyll and Hyde?
Not too many. There is some obvious, gender disparity, but we all understand it's a story about the Victorian era in England,
Yeah.
right? So like, there's kind of no way around that.
Exactly. Yeah, I was saying that about My Fair Lady. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly, yeah.
Everybody oohing and awing. I'm like, it's of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And we approach the material with sensitivity. Everyone's very comfortable with everything. And I think with Jeckyll and Hyde specifically, there is, because it is this sort of quirky mix of like orchestral and 90s power rock. That sort of helps add this element of lightheartedness to the whole affair.
Yes.
And you know, the writers did attempt to give the female characters some more agency.
Okay.
You know, and address that. So it's not like they're just doing everything they're told. You know, there's like if you were to see the show or listen to a recording, like there is very much a concerted effort to give them agency and not portray them as just fully beholden to the men.
Right.
But because it is of the time, that is actually part of the story, right? Especially for one of the characters where she's like, how do I get out of my situation? And it's just through rich men.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, and there's no way around that for her. But she's given the time to reflect on it and to have the emotional space to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I think that helps.
Yeah. Any other plays that you've had in the past where you've had to do a lot of any rewriting or changing of scripts?
I think, as I told you before, there was a show once where me and the team, we had to completely rewrite a whole scene because it was just, it wasn't even close to passable. But we did it, and we moved on from it, and we made it work.
Nice.
But it definitely makes you realize how far we've come in like even 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was like 15 years ago, when I was like still in high school, and the shows I was in and the things that we thought were okay, and I look back and I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah.
No. Like
100%.
how did we even think that was okay? So
right?
You know.
Yeah. Times are changing. But you're right, like if it's beneficial to story of she can only get out of it because of rich men, that's the story versus, you know, an issue where it's just very culturally different.
Yeah, or like where the authors aren't aware of it and they're just sort of putting trauma porn out there or something like that. Yeah,
exactly.
Which happens a lot still. So,
right. Yeah. There's definitely a difference.
Yeah. Well, actually, it kind of harkens. So the final show that we have planned for this season, which is happening in June 2025, is a complete step in the opposite direction of things that are not passable. This is this really amazing piece called For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide / The Rainbow Is Enough, which was this very provocative play from the 1970s. It's been adapted into a film, I think 2007, and then it actually opened on Broadway in 2021 for a very limited run. So yeah, it's this really amazing play written by this African-American playwright, Tezuki Shange. And it's 7 intentionally nameless women. Each woman is named after a color of the rainbow.
Oh.
And it's a series of poems with dance and music about abuse, suicide, what it means to be a black woman in society, and written in the 70s, but obviously still just as pertinent now. So yeah, compared to something like Sweeney Todd, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Jeckyll Hyde, which are all about a man going through a struggle. This is, now we're doing Women on the Verge, and then For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide, 2 completely different stories all about women, which I think is a really nice step in the right direction for us.
Yeah, 100%. And it's nice to have that that balance, right, of like, oh, this is mainly a play about men, and then, okay, well, the next one we'll do mostly about women. That's awesome. I like that you guys have done that.
Yeah, and I think also for Women on the Verge, because it is a story that takes place in Madrid, we were really interested, okay, let's get a cast that's Spanish and Latina. And the auditions were a really beautiful thing because we put that out there and we said we're prioritizing Latino actors, Spanish actors for these roles. And people would submit videos singing in Spanish.
Oh, nice.
And like, it was just so nice that they were singing their native language and they felt like they were being heard. Yeah, like we were all just like, wow. So
amazing.
Yeah, so that cast, it'll be announced pretty soon, but it's a mix of Latino performers and performers with like the Mediterranean connection, So from different areas in Europe and Asia that surround it.
Nice.
So yeah, just completely different in giving people a voice that usually don't get one.
Yeah, 100%. And when is that? It'll be announced soon, and then you start rehearsals. How long is rehearsals for that
So
show?
that one, we'll start rehearsals right after New Year's, beginning of January.
Nice.
And we perform the last weekend in March.
Oh,
So,
okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice
2-week
time.
rehearsal process, or 2 months, sorry.
Can
you, yeah, 2 weeks.
Get on it, everybody.
No, we're not.
Study over Christmas.
We haven't grown to that point yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but we've cast it, so they already know their roles. They've been sent their materials, but we'll officially start in January.
Amazing. And through this process so far with this production company, what's the biggest thing you've learned from the whole process?
Ooh, wow, it's hard to pick just one thing.
Yeah.
I would say, I think the thing we've learned as a company, rather than just me personally, is learning from our mistakes or our decisions we made in the beginning that didn't turn out to necessarily work out so well.
Right.
Things like having music stands on stage, which maybe works in a certain way, but then we realized that limits what you can do, what the audience gets out of the material, right? Again, I think I've talked about this, but accompanying on piano, it works in a certain setting, but I think for the ambitions we have, no, we need more color, sonic color than that.
Right.
And I would say on a personal level, what have I learned? I'm always learning this, not just with Dr. Bird, but I think in my craft, is just how to work with performers. And no, there's no one size fits all. Everyone's different. Everyone comes into the room with their own set of strengths and weaknesses, their own securities and insecurities, their own things that they want to get out or not get out of a process. And so I've had to learn how to identify that, and pretty quickly too, I think, because the more I can lock in with someone, the sooner we can make more progress. I would say that's the biggest thing I've learned, is just how to meet a performer where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody watching was also wanting to direct and work with musicians, anything that has helped you, tips or tricks or anything like that?
Okay, well, I will say, performers and musicians are not made the same. So working,
Fair.
This is good. So working with musicians is not the same as working with performers.
Okay. And how are they different?
So I find with musicians, one of the key things is them knowing that you're not wasting their time, that you're organized and that you're as prepared as you can be, so that they're not showing up to a rehearsal and we've only gotten through like 2 numbers because the music director didn't prepare the music well enough in advance, or just wasn't anticipating the challenges to come, right? I find that is a big thing.
Yeah.
And also I think with musicians as well, laying out very clear expectations from the beginning. Like for example, I know personally I've had to work a lot sometimes with musicians subbing in and out of rehearsals, and sometimes that hasn't gone very well. And so I've had to put my foot down more and be like, okay, for this project, I'm not allowing it. We just don't have enough time, and if you can't do all the rehearsals and the performances, it's just not going to work out this time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I find people respect that. If you lay it out from the beginning, there's no issue. And I think another thing with musicians is clarity of gestures, specifically with conducting. Often because with the orchestra or the band, I get way less rehearsal time than with the cast. So I have to get everything done in like 1 or 2 rehearsals. So knowing how to be really clear with my movements, and they know, okay, this is when we go, right?
Yeah.
Or like, we need to get louder or softer. And that's something I'm always going to be working on. Versus working with performers, like I said, meeting them where they're at. I find, especially with people playing the principal roles, it's always good to have a conversation in the beginning about what's your experience, what are things that work well for you in terms of direction versus not. Like some people really like really nitpicky things all the time, all over the place. and some people find that debilitating.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I'm more just discerning on my own and just keeping it in my head. Because as a director, as a creative, that's sort of what you need to do.
Yeah.
I think just with performance, it's also like just being a good person, them knowing that you're not out to hurt them, that you're on their side, and that you want nothing but for the best performance out of them. I find that does a lot, because I remember when I used to perform a lot more when I was younger, I would work with directors, and when you're scared of them, I find, it works in some ways, but usually the performance and the music doesn't necessarily win at the end, because it's like, oh, I hope I'm doing everything they asked me, and
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes someone needs a little tough love or reining in, but I don't think that's at least for me, that's not my philosophy of how I approach things. I'm very much more let's be friendly out of the gate, and if someone takes advantage of that, then we can deal with it. But I find that's almost never the case. At least in this city, people really want to get along with each other, and they want to have good harmonious relationships. So
yeah, that's very true.
And I think the other thing is being able to push a performer. I'm often saying do this thing, but way more than you think I want you to, And sometimes I get this look. They're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, do it. Sing that phrase way louder. I dare you. I dare you to do it too loud." And often they still aren't loud enough, right? So, or giving it that depth of meaning enough that I'm trying to mine out of that specific note or lyric or whatever.
Right.
So, there's that, establishing this sort of playful working banter as well.
Nice. Good. Excellent. And a little bit about you.
Yes.
How did you get into musical directing?
So, originally, I was always very actor focused when I was younger. When I was a kid, I would do acting classes, and it was always my dream to be an actor and stuff. But I found as I went to high school and in my early university years that it wasn't working out for me as much, and that I was running into these creative roadblocks way more than I was expecting. At the same time, my parents always had me in piano lessons. They made me do it for a while, and not because I needed to be some full-time musician. They just wanted me to have musical literacy, which I look back now and I'm like, thank you.
Well, thank God.
Yeah. But believe me, there were many nights fighting my mom at the piano as a kid, not wanting to practice, and her being like, "No, you need to practice because you have a lesson or you have a recital." And I would be like, what's the value in this? I don't understand, I just want to act. Anyways, fast forward to university, and I was really struggling with acting and kind of having a bit of an identity crisis with it.
What kind of roadblocks? You said roadblocks kept on coming up for you. In what way did they show up?
I think it was an aptitude thing. For me, in my head, I had this idea that it was easier to do than it actually was. You see great actors on TV and film, and it looks so effortless. And
I think I could do that.
Yeah. When I was doing Shakespeare or Oscar Wilde stuff, or Brecht, in high school and university, and I struggled with it a lot. And I would teachers would be like, "We can see you thinking, and we can see you doing the work for the audience before the audience has a chance to react to what you or as the character are doing." And I also found when I would go out audition for things, I wasn't getting roles I wanted or that I thought I was, set up for or that I was right for. And same thing in university. And I did get cast in roles in university, but I found it was just this one type of this comedic, often a priest of all things, which was never what I thought my type would be. But that was happening. I was like, okay, this is fun. But I had this moment where I was like, being an actor is a very hard life, and you have to deal with a lot of rejection. And I realized I'm not willing to deal with all that rejection as an actor, you know, and all these hardships, like, it's just not for me. And at the same time, it was funny because the whole music directing thing was like right under my nose.
No way.
Like I was always like accompanying my friends, like learning new scores. And I was like, oh, this is for fun. And then, so I sort of had the switch. I was like, hold on, I should be music directing, because clearly I love all this music. I still get to work with performers. I still get to be in theater.
Yeah.
And it was just like glove fit the hand. Like
Amazing.
It made way more sense, and I've never looked back. Like I miss acting, but in a very positive way. You know, like I don't miss doing it. And I've made complete peace with not pursuing that anymore, and I love what I do now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And so you say you were already doing it before you realized you were doing it.
yeah, because my friends would have like a music theater audition, like, oh, can we work on this song? I'm like, yeah, like I love accompanying songs. Like that was the start of it, where
so
I was like,
funny.
I loved accompanying singers. It was just something I loved to do,
Yeah.
and I was good at it. And that's when we started Dr. Bird. That's why I was like, oh, I'll accompany everything. But as I've grown my craft and I've settled into this artistic voice way more, I've been able to expand my skill set and what I do with it.
Yeah.
And I still use my acting training when I work with singers. Like I'm not 100% music focused. You know? There still are lyrics, there's still acting, so.
And I think it would help too, having an acting background, knowing what it feels like being on the receiving end of,
Absolutely.
notes or criticism or whatever it is. I think it helps being like, I've been there, so I get like you approach it with niceness.
Yeah.
You don't have to instill fear into them.
No, I think I think the fear is like, let's have a run through, let's let it be bad, and that will be the fear.
Yeah.
Like
it's scary enough.
Yeah, it's like I find that does all the work I need to for someone to get their shit together.
Yeah,
right? Like,
that's true. That's true. Like, oh, I'll never want that to happen again.
Yeah, and then we're like, see, like actually in Jeckyll Hyde the other week, we started Act 2, and within the first 30 seconds, it just completely fell apart. And we had to restart all over again. And I said to everyone in the room, like, let this be a lesson for everyone. If that were to happen in performance, I'm not stopping. Like, this was like your get out of jail free card, right?
Oh my goodness.
But in front of an audience, we don't just stop because you were like, blah, 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 something, Like,
yeah, exactly. The show goes on.
So that's the fear. And,
yeah.
Being an actor, like, I get it. Like, it's already a very vulnerable spot you're in. You've got all these people giving their opinions to you. And I find if you can be that rock where they know that you're on their side and that they can trust you, I think that works the best.
Amazing. And how did you meet your co-founder?
I met Manuele music directing a show about 6 years ago now, I think.
Okay.
He actually stepped in pretty last minute for someone else who had to back out. It was like 2 weeks before we opened, and he stepped in.
No way.
So we did that show, and then about a year later, he called me up, and he's like, I'm directing this play, and one of the characters is a piano accompanist. And I know you've got a bit of acting background, so do you want to play this role? And so I did. I went back into acting. It was the funniest thing. I had like 5 lines, and I still got direction on like, project, don't be so awkward. I was like, yeah, see, this is why you don't this is why you don't give me lines anymore. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, we did that play, and then I would say about 6 months after that play closed, he approached me with the concert idea, and that kind of coincided with the pandemic.
Nice.
And that's the trajectory of meeting him and starting this really great collaboration together.
Amazing. That is so cool. I like looking back and seeing how all the connections happened.
Oh yeah. I like in the last couple of years, like I got one job through social media, and then in the second rehearsal, someone in the cast came up to me and was like, oh, I'm working on this show. Do you want to work on it with me?
Nice.
And then I got another job. And then, before I knew it, like my schedule was like full, like too full.
Wow.
So I think like meeting people, just not being afraid to put yourself out there, which is something I wish I was taught, and I wish schools taught more to performers in general.
Yeah.
I think those things are really key.
Yeah, they're important. I'm not a fan of networking, but now I found networking areas that I find that are relaxed and chill and positive energy, where I don't like the the formality of it or the comparing of it. I specifically don't like, because
but isn't that sort of the funny paradox? Because it's like it's formal, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like you're supposed to come off all casual, but we both people know that there's a connection, and that there's an agenda to be had, which isn't a bad thing,
No, it just makes it weird. It's funny actually talking to actors sometimes, and then you say you're also an actor, and they're like, oh. And they just slowly dive behind the eyes, and they're like, you're not a director or producer.
Right, you're not someone I can...
Moving on.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, all right.
But honestly, I will say, as someone in a creative position now, like, sometimes I'm like so thankful when people reach out, because I think what people don't realize is people in those creative positions, often they're so busy.
Yeah.
And you need something to be easily and readily available. And like recently I had someone reach out to me just introducing myself, and then I ended up hiring them because they filled this role that I needed filled.
Nice.
And there was not once in my head was like, oh, how annoying of them to have like reached out to me.
I know, right?
No, yes. I was thankful. I'm like, great, now I can add this person to my list of people.
Yes.
And I think they were almost a little bit surprised, because they just reached out, and I'm like, hey, want to do this whole project with me?
Amazing.
So, and I wish that was taught more in schools. I think that's it's an important skill to have.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I found when I was producing comedy shows, men had no problem reaching out and being like, hey, I heard your show, I want to be on it. Whereas the messages I got from women were more very few and far between, but then also like not asking to be on, but just kind of, hi, this is who I am, just so you know, sorry to bother you. And you're like, no, just ask the questions you want to ask, and if you want to be on the show, like, yes, be on the show.
Honestly, and anyone listening, like, I would say don't apologize for yourself. If anything, that doesn't actually make you look good.
Yeah.
Like,
no, just
From what I've learned, like, someone just presenting themselves confidently is like great. Like the worst case scenarios, I just put them away for another time.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, like a person in a creative position, they're dealing with so many people. Like, chances are they're not going to remember you because they thought you were annoying or anything.
Yeah.
Like, you have to like really try hard and really pester people. But
yeah, for sure. And in my experience too, asking people questions, everybody is very happy to give information and share and help out. I think there's this weird like, oh, don't ask them any questions, don't bother them. And it's like, no, everybody's that I've reached out to, worst case, they don't respond. That's it. Is like worst case scenario, nobody responds. Best case scenario, you get your answer answered, or you get cast.
Honestly,
with a project. It's
almost a bit like the dating apps where it's like you message someone you like, they don't respond. It's like, okay, give it like 3 months and then just say hey again, and maybe you just come to front of mind again.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, that person.
Which I've both done and have had happen to me.
Exactly.
So, right?
Yeah.
So.
It is the way of the industry, and it is something that should be taught for sure.
I think it's in my opinion, it's just a big crime that schools don't put more of a focus on that, because it doesn't prepare us for what it's actually like.
And everybody says like it's a business, you should know the business, you should know the business. Okay, but what does that even mean? What is like, okay, so I should know the politics of it, I should know how to present myself, I should know what's important on my end of what to keep up and to like maintain. Like, I think we're told the business and people are walking around going, I should be networking, that's the business, right? And we're like, yeah, it's a part of it, but there's a lot.
Honestly, and I had a professor tell me this in university, he's like, be 10 to 15 minutes early and be prepared.
Yeah.
And that's like 90% of the work. And I can't tell you how much I agree with that. Like,
yeah.
like, you know, you've asked me about musicians in the past. Like, the people I want to hire again or work with again are not necessarily like the most talented one in the room. It's the people that don't back out of things last minute, don't have all these little difficult requests,
Yes.
are reliable, you know, show up on time. Those are the things that actually matter. Yes, you have to be good at what you do, for sure, but I think that's sort of a given. And
yeah, but if you're showing up late all the time, you're not reliable, you miss a rehearsal, but you're the most talented person in the room, you might go with the second most talented person in the room because they're there.
Absolutely, yeah. Or like, you're clearly treating the project like as not important.
Like it doesn't matter.
And it's very obvious, you know, that's pretty disrespectful.
Yes.
And it's like, if that's how you felt, just don't accept the project, right? You know?
Yeah.
Like if you're just trying to constantly work around it and make it easier for yourself in a way that's super obvious and impacts the way I can do my job or the other people in the room, yeah, I don't think that reflects well. And,
no,
you know,
100%.
I mean, I certainly made a lot of those mistakes when I was younger, but again, part of growing the craft is, like, that is the other half of the battle. It's not enough to just have the actual talent of the thing. You have to you just have to have your shit together, like, for lack of a better term.
Really
and
do.
It's as simple as showing up on time and not being difficult to work with. And I think I say that because, like, I think people are also, there's the other side of, like, people don't want to be difficult to work with, but they should speak up when things are wrong.
Yeah.
You know? So where's the balance? And I think that's something I'm still working on as a music director, someone in that sort of more authoritative creative position.
Yeah.
Of like,
I think, because it has to do, I think requests like that is like comfort and safety. Whereas if you're asking to, like, you know, I need 3 Fiji waters, and we're not at that level yet.
Just bring your own Fiji waters. Like, it's fine. Yeah.
But yeah, any kind of, it's tricky because if it's like your comfort, your safety, or I'd say like schedule related, like say they have a family thing for a rehearsal or whatever, so there's that one rehearsal they're gonna miss or something like that. Like, those things are fine, but yeah, there is the nitpicking, and some people take it too far, and I think a lot of people got afraid to make requests for stuff and speak up because you're gonna easily get the title of diva, or that annoying person on set. But then there are those people on set, so I find the self-awareness needs to be there. and it's hard. I don't know, I feel like everybody's different what they're going to tolerate and what they're going to request, and it's a weird gray zone. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, but I find it just harkens back to, like, basic human nature, where it's like the more powerful someone gets, the more easy it is to slip into losing that self-awareness. Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not as well versed in the film and TV world because I'm pretty much exclusively in live performance, but I've heard stories.
Oh yeah, we have all heard stories, 100%.
But I think, like, being humble, I find that'll never be the reason someone doesn't hire you again.
Yeah. Or
doesn't want to work with you again. So
100%.
And, like, I would say, like, people, the people I've formed great relationships with, like, they're good at what they do, really great to work with, they know how to speak up, and what's reasonable, what's not. And the people that I find I'm not inclined to collaborate with again, like, just sometimes, like, I can think of one instance, someone was just incredibly rude right out of the gate for no reason, and they were also not good at what they did. So it was just sort of like a really bad combination of
2 strikes.
Yeah, I was like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just sort of where you just like smile and say thank you, and that's it, you know.
And that's the other thing about raising your concerns is there's a respectful way to ask for something that you need or something that you want. And also be prepared that maybe the answer is a no.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, so.
And I think we talked earlier about like, you know, like you said, like I approach things with kindness and generosity and like, yes, but one thing I've had to learn is where to put the boundary on that. Because I find, people will take advantage of that. And
yeah, you can't be a doormat.
No, you can't.
Can't be walked on.
You have to put your foot down, and you have to be willing to say like, okay, if this doesn't work out, then you're welcome to leave, you know. And I don't want to find someone else, but I will, because it's what's better for the outcome. But
yeah, exactly.
I do my best to avoid that, and I think I take a lot of pride in the relationships that I have built, because I think not just as a music director, I think anyone that wants to work in the arts, it's just the relationship building skills is really key, and that will get you very far. I think if you can just know how to build and maintain good relationships with people, plus being talented, being prepared, and showing up on time, like golden combination right there.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I wanted to ask you before we wrap up was about your internship at Shaw Festival coming up next year. How did this happen?
Well, I applied for it. But it kind of harkens back to the things we've talked about where, you know, you apply for it, you reach out, you say, I'm interested in this opportunity, and you reach out with confidence, not with like, sorry to bother you, you know?
Yeah.
And because they're putting the opportunity out there, they want the person. So yeah, I applied for it actually multiple times.
Okay.
And each time I made a point of coming back stronger and showing that I've grown my skill set, and then I've worked on more projects, and that I'm really passionate about what I do. And this year it worked out for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm really excited, and it feels really gratifying that a lot of the work I've put in and the passion for what I do pays off for an opportunity like that.
Yeah, 100%. And so what does that mean? What is your next year then going to look like? You're going to be down in Shaw Festival with in the orchestra for shows?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of different facets. So Paul Sportelli, the Shaw music director, who's a really fantastic person, and I just have to say, like, what he does with this internship of trying to cultivate new talent for music directors, because there's not a lot of opportunities like that out there, is just so amazing. So the internship is really designed to take someone from like an emerging level and put them fully ready to be entering the professional world, typically in more of like an associate or assistant music director role, but still like basically cleaning up the skill set. So like, you know, for me, like we've identified things that I want to work on specifically, and we'll have work sessions, and then you work on the musical in rehearsals and in performance. Sometimes you sit and watch the rehearsals, sometimes you say, oh, I want to play this song, and he's like, yes, do it. And then I'll be subbing into the orchestra on, I think there'll be 2 different keyboard books. So
amazing.
They have the orchestra all hired out and allotted out, and then musicians being musicians, we're always like gigging around and subbing in and out of different things. So I will be helping to fill in the gaps there. And then there's a number of other smaller projects with like different, one with different director apprentices that are also interning under the directors there. And then there's like some smaller musical shows that I will also have involvement on in terms of like helping with the curation, playing some of the performances, running some of the rehearsals. And then any projects that I want to spearhead myself, I'm giving, I wouldn't say fully free rein because everything has to be reasonable, but they want me to be ambitious and do what I want to do there. So I have some ideas of things I want to do, and hopefully it'll work out.
That's amazing. Yeah. What an amazing opportunity. That's so cool. Yeah. I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, honestly, I really like I have to thank someone like Manuele who gave me this opportunity with Dr. Bird. I don't think, and not just him, a lot of different companies I've worked for in the last couple of years, like I don't think I would have gotten to this point without having these opportunities to grow and work on my skill set.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think with something like Dr. Bird, where it was like we started with something sort of basic and built it up, that also allowed me to build my skill set each time and come back stronger when I applied for this internship. So
amazing.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is so cool. Sorry, I think I cut you off. Are you about to say something?
No.
Okay.
No.
Alrighty. Yeah, no, that is so cool. And is it a paid internship? Do you mind if I ask? Is it unpaid internship?
No, it's paid.
Okay, I was gonna say, because you're gonna be busy.
Yes,
I was
it's
like,
gonna
you
be
don't
busy.
have time to also work. That sounds like a full schedule.
Yeah, no, it's a busy thing, but I've met with other interns who've done this before, and they there's some flexibility, and they understand that when you're an emerging musician, you need to take other jobs. So there is that'll be obviously the main place I'm working next year, but if I want to go do other things and we can make it work with the schedule, there is flexibility for that, which is again part of I think why Paul is such a great mentor. I was able to go down and sit in on the orchestra pit for My Fair Lady and to see how it's all done, and it's a well-oiled machine, they all know what they're doing. It's just baton goes up, they play, and
right. I'm like, do they even need to rehearse? They're just like, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah. Well, and for that show, they've been doing it for 100 performances, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a routine at that point.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Congratulations again.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
No worries. Is there anything else before I wrap up that you wanted to talk about, or you wanted me to ask you, or anything that popped in your head as we went along that you're like, oh, I should talk about that?
I think some things, I just wanted to talk quickly about the people that joined Dr. Bird as we grew, because they were instrumental in the success. What's been really amazing about this venture is we've been adding people on every single time. So I think, as I said before, it started just Manuele and I. We didn't really have a stage manager. And we didn't have a choreographer, we were doing it all ourselves. And then we added Amelia, who's our wonderful choreographer. She has such great vision for staging. And she's actually going to take on even more of a role for Women on the Verge. And she's of Latino descent, so I think it's such a great pairing of creative and material.
Nice.
And yeah, for Jeckyll Hyde, she's just put some really hilarious, but also very evocative and interesting choreography, which has totally helped lift everything up to the next level.
Amazing.
Then we added Paulina, our amazing social media manager, on.
That's right.
A lot of people know her as an actress as well. She kind of does everything, is everywhere. And she's been incredible too, just helping us clean up our social media presence, make us look really presentable, knowing who to reach out to, all of that stuff. Because I certainly don't have time, and I don't have it's a skill set, and she's just
full job.
And then we added Talfrin, our stage manager, who's again someone really talented at what they do, so organized, really good at keeping us on track, because goodness, as we started running 3 rooms at once, it became clear okay, we need someone telling okay, you have 3 minutes left, you have 5 minutes left, and making us stick to the schedule, and just they're the dark horse that not everyone realizes is keeping this machine running. And then we also have Emily as our lighting designer. They are really great at what they do. They lighting design, I think, for a lot of different companies around the city too. And then we also, for Jeckyll Hyde, we finally got some real costumes going. And
cool.
so Rochelle Bradley is our costume designer.
Amazing.
And they're also an actress, but professional costume designer. They played Esmeralda in our Hunchback of Notre Dame, and went from singing that beautifully to designing some really gorgeous costumes for Jeckyll Hyde. So
amazing.
And obviously adding the orchestra in, which will change depending on the show every time, but making that a norm. And I'm sure more people will join the team as we keep growing
100%.
and the productions keep getting more ambitious. So
yeah, that's incredible. And all of the people that have joined in within the last year, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's went from 2 people to like now we've like a legit whole team.
Like a whole team.
Yeah, and
that is so amazing.
It feels so good because it's like I know I couldn't do this all myself, and Manuele certainly knows that too. And just to know that we have people that are reliable, that work well together, all really strong in their jobs. That's where the sum of the parts add up to something greater. So
incredible. And did you meet did you know these people and brought them on, or was this social media call, or a little bit of both?
Kind of a little bit of both. You know, harkening back to networking, the stage manager, I was working on a different project. I saw how good they were, and I asked them, do you want to join us?
Amazing.
Paulina actually auditioned for us back when we did Sweeney Todd. And then we put out a call for a social media manager, and she responded, and we hired her.
Amazing.
And yeah, Rochelle was like in the cast and was like, hey, I do costumes like for a living.
I love
and we're
that.
like, perfect, we need that. So yeah, that's how it is. That's how it's evolved and grown.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's how it will continue to evolve
just
and
keep
grow.
snowballing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's incredible. That's so impressive. In a year, a full team. That is so wicked.
Yes, it
That
feels
is
great.
awesome. Wicked. All right, so I'll wrap up with one last question before we end. What is something that you would tell your younger self?
Ooh. You know what? We talked about it a lot today. Don't be afraid to be confident in what you do.
Yes.
And when I was younger and starting out, I wasn't. And I think I lost out on opportunities because of that. And now that I've gotten over that hill, it feels amazing.
Nice. I like that.
And it's a skill that needs to be acquired, that some are more naturally apt at than others.
That's true. That's true. And it is a skill that you can acquire. I think people that don't have it look at people who do and go, oh, I wish. And it's like, no, it's something that can be worked on and built upon and grow. So that's good too.
You just have to trust and accept that it will be hard for a while. Like when I was learning to play piano as a kid. I wasn't good when I was beginning, right? But usually no one is. So
yeah, exactly. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. I had such a great time.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And let me know whenever we can promote and send out posts or share your posts for upcoming shows and projects and all that kind of stuff. That'd be awesome. So stay tuned because there's more coming in the whole season. Alrighty, wicked. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you did, hit the like button, comment your favorite part below, and I'll see you in the next interview.